Thanks for joining us today. We have, of course, the one and only James O'Keefe of Project Veritas. How are you enjoying CPAC, James?
I'm having a good time. Broke a story today. Patrick Davis from CNN on the main stage.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that, actually, about Patrick Davis. So he was originally a subject of one of your investigations. What's the story about him going from being a subject to now being an executive producer for you?
Well, you know, it's interesting. He was caught on a hidden camera saying things about CNN that they hates what CNN has become. All they got to do is tell the news, but they do all this opinion. And we converted him from a subject into an employee. This week we announced that we're hiring him, and Patrick has worked with us for a few months now and produced some of our stories. Really good guy. I think he represents this whole movement of good people working for organizations that maybe have lost their way. And we need more people to be brave and speak up like he has.
Has he revealed anything to you, just working with him in the time that you have, about the corruption going on within CNN that you might have not known otherwise?
Well, one of the most interesting things he revealed is when he was caught on that microphone by Carrie Porch, who was wearing a hidden camera for us. He said these things, and CNN, he spoke up at their management meeting, and to his surprise and mine, everyone applauded him. Versus, say, how could you speak ill of CNN? And I think having diversifying viewpoints is something that most people actually want. And I think that's true a lot of these places. There, even the FBI, for example, who raided my home and did some things that were horribly illegal to me. But it's actually, you would think a lot of these people are just following orders and they actually are against what they're doing. So really this is a movement of people who need to just be brave and speak out and speak up and expose it. And we need a mass movement of those people.
Speaking of the FBI raid, do you have any updates on that you can share with us at the time?
Yeah, the federal judge assigned what's called a special master over the FBI. They first ordered the FBI stop going through my phones, and then assigned these people to be a team that runs as an intermediary between the FBI and our lawyers. But they still have my phones. They haven't charged me the crime. There was no crime. It was blatantly wrong what happened. And I guess maybe their purpose was to try to scare me, intimidate me, and they failed to do that. If anything, they've emboldened us to get more sources and stories because, hell, if the FBI is raiding the homes of journalists, we must be doing something right.
I mean, you even have the ACLU on your side. They even had to hedge it a little bit and say, we don't like Veritas, but we don't like what the FBI did to you.
They have to hedge it, but it was a powerful moment in space and time when the Society of Professional Journalists, the ACLU, the Committee to Protect Journalists, the Freedom of the Press Foundation, the Reporters Committee are all defending Project Veritas because even they are like, whoa, you can't have battering rams against journalists because you don't like what they're doing. That's a very un-American thing. We may not agree on much in this country, but we can at least agree that you shouldn't do that. And by the way, Trump never did do that to a journalist, but the Biden administration did it to me and Spencer and Eric at Project Veritas.
But at least Biden's not tweeting mean things, right?
At least that.
Well, he's not even tweeting, someone else is. But I also want to get back to Davis for a moment, because you mentioned some of the comments that he made. He said things like, CNN isn't what it used to be. He said it's now infotainment. I want to ask you, journalists used to be very skeptical of people in power, and now places like CNN and that, they're now carrying water for the powerful. And I think he's getting at that. When did that change take place, and why did it happen?
Well, it wasn't one moment in history, but it's been an evolution. I think there was always a tension in journalism between access to a source and to be fully autonomous. So, in other words, do you want to just repeat the company line, or do you want to be so skeptical and adversarial that it engenders biases of their own? And what's happened in the last 30 years since the Food Lion case, ABC was sued by a grocery store. They did an undercover camera investigation, and litigation made it so expensive, and companies decided, I'm not going to do investigative journalism, it's too expensive. What's the purpose in doing it? Rather just preach to our choir and make money. Well, journalism is a philanthropic thing. You have to give, you're going to lose more money than you make. So it was always philanthropic, and there was always a sense of philanthropy on any company's balance sheet. So over the years, it became the rise of the oligarchy, the rise of Twitter and Instagram and Facebook, the consolidation of newspapers. Now we only have the Washington Post, Wall Street Journal, Financial Times, and the New York Times. That's it. And the algorithms that boost the authorized knowers of society, the Anthony Fauci's, the CDC. You're not allowed to question anything that corporations and the government tells you. Well, that's so against every notion of the First Amendment. but this is accepted, and if you disagree, you will be canceled. So of course that's what's happening, and those who don't play by the rules, well, they raid you with federal agents, they remove your accounts, and I say to hell with them. Let's have more people do this, and whatever the consequences, I'll pay whatever price is necessary to tell the truth.
Now, you're talking about telling the truth, and you mentioned bias as well. I want to ask, because he also said that he does believe that objective journalism is a thing. It's a very possible goal. What do you think about that? Do you think objective journalism is truly possible, or do you think that it is better for journalistic outlets to be honest with their biases and then strive for being objective from there? Or maybe it's a combination of all things?
I think it's more what you're saying to your audience and whether you're showing them the facts. Like, it doesn't matter as much who's funding you or what your agenda is. It matters that you're showing people real information that's first-person observation information, not just second-hand hearsay accounts or your opinion. So I think what journalism really, we call it veritas, which is Latin for truth, or cinema verite. The truth, that we show people the truth, and if you're using an iPhone, it's 30 frames per second or 24 frames per second, so that's 24 frames per second of truth. It doesn't matter so much who's behind you. However, with CNN, every time we have recorded these people, it's almost like, well, we're a propaganda network. This is what Charlie Chester said. We want to get Trump out. So if that is what you are trying to do, if you're trying to help Andrew Cuomo, like Jeff Zucker recently left CNN, and he was caught in an ethics scandal because they were timing their coverage to assist the governor of New York. Well, you should just call it CNN, we help the governor of New York.
And they try to cover it up by focusing more on the sexual malfeasance of it all.
Well, that's true too. They always make it about Me Too, when the assistance to the governor is the nadir of immorality. To help elect or not help a governor, to time your press conferences, it should be CNN, we help Andrew Cuomo, not CNN, the most trusted name in news. Be honest about your position. And by the way, at Project Veritas, our donors don't tell us what to do. They don't. And they couldn't, because I can't put words in someone's mouth. And I don't tell you what to think. I just show you the truth. That's what we want journalists to do.
So one final question. There's so many journalistic outlets out there right now, with everything online, plus the billion channels we have for all this news. What's a good litmus test for just the average viewer they're watching unbiased news, good quality journalism? What would it be a good litmus test?
I think first-person observation journalism. Can you see it and hear it for yourself? Is it self-evident? Or do they say, trust us because we're credible by virtue of the declaration that we declare ourselves credible? That's a self-anointed racket. So if you're reading the Washington Post, well, according to people familiar with the matter. Well, who are these people familiar with the matter? I don't know who they are. I can't see their faces. And they have given us no reason to trust them, because every time we open up their notebooks, we see they're lying. So don't trust them because they tell you to trust them. Only trust the evidence of your eyes and ears. And if you can't get the information that way, then read everything. So I do read the New York Times, I read the Wall Street Journal, I read the Financial Times, I read the Drudge Report, I watch Instagram, I consume, and it sounds like a chore. Well, it is. To be an informed citizen, I have to spend 2 hours a day reading all this stuff every morning, because I'm trying to read between the lines. But at the end of the day, you got to get information that's not processed. You got to get raw, kind of unprocessed, first-person observation information.
And before I finally let you go, you have your book, American Muckraker. Is there anything you'd like to let our audience know about what's in it? Muckrakers. We need more muckrakers. When I've spoken with people from Veritas before, I've said you are modern muckrakers. You're actually going in and showing the dredges of what's going on with the powerful, like Upton Sinclair did back in the day. So what do you discuss in the book, and what made you use that title?
Well, the book, Muckraker, it is probably an accurate description. We rake the muck. We
show the dirt.
Summon righteous indignation by exposing the tragedies in these organizations, and we try to create some type of consensus. We either do that and inform people and change their minds, or, and I don't believe in this, it's coercion, like what Trudeau is doing. We're not there yet. I don't think we'll get there, but we are a country founded on the concept of informed consent, that it's the First Amendment to the Constitution. It's become a cliche, First Amendment, everything's First Amendment. But really, information is the accountability that everyone seeks.
It's the first for a reason.
Absolutely, and it's the one that protects every other right. So the New York Times preaches First Amendment, but defamation is not a First Amendment right. Printing my attorney-client privilege documents after the FBI raids me is not a First Amendment right. But this book is about how to speak the truth and and where the boundaries are. It's really, I wrote it for journalism schools. It's going to be something that I think one day people will refer to. There's nothing ideological about it. In fact, most people I cite are academics and law professors. And the hypothesis of the book is that you got to stop being so afraid. The moment you stop caring about what the so-called mainstream media thinks of you is the moment you're actually a free man. And a lot of the people that are walking around the halls of this place are not free. They're still worried about if they lose their Instagram account. Well, the hell with that. Stop worrying about that.
Just newfound respect and all of that.
And just stop caring about what evil people think of you, and just tell the truth.